get it on!
Welcome everybody to episode 8 of Off the Ropes with John and Josh. I am Josh.
And I'm Executive Vice President of Talent Relations and the Interim General Manager of Monday Night Raw, John Laurinaitis, People Power.
Alright, Ace.
What, now I can't be Johnny Laurinaitis?
No.
Why? Why can I not be John Laurinaitis?
Johnny Ace was way better than you.
You take that back. Johnny Storm versus Johnny Ace. Any day of the week, you know Johnny Storm wins. Johnny Storm whooped Scotty Mac's ass.
Stop being so rude!
Okay.
Anywho,
Today,
welcome.
Breaking Kayfabe. We have a couple of interesting things to kick off with. I would like to bring up that the New Age Outlaws have made an in-ring return for the first time in almost 10 years, taking on Rhodes Scholars in a victorious win.
Yes. I'm excited to see what more they do with them. Maybe they'll revitalize the tag team division. I think it'll be interesting.
I think one of the fun things to mention would be that during their match with Rhodes Scholars, there was a Cody's Mustache chant. And there was also a thing where apparently Billy Gunn made a comment. I almost called him Kip James. I'm sorry. He made a comment about the PG era and the entire crowd booed.
Ooh.
Could this be an end to the PG era? Who knows? But do notice that I pulled out the retro today because I'm down with the X, baby. Down with it. And if you're not...
He's got 2 words for you.
Restraining
order.
That's 3 words.
No, that's 2 words.
Restraint. That's 2.
You definitely went to Pine Valley.
Alright, so next on the list.
Next on Breaking Kayfabe.
Wait, for the faint at heart, this is where you tune out for a sec.
Tony Atlas apparently paid a woman $100 to kick him in the face. This is apparently something that he likes to do. He kind of gets his rocks off on this. I don't understand. To each their own, I suppose.
Oh, if I had $100 to pay a woman, it would not be to kick me in the face.
Ain't that the truth? Unless that's what they're calling it these days, but I highly doubt that.
Nobody's called me yet. Can you believe this? I put my real phone number out there. 716-951-0799. Call me, text me. Find me on Facebook. J with a little bracket around it, John Made. I'm open to all conversation. Let's do this.
Do it.
I would also like to point out that Antonio Cesaro, the United States champion, just turned 32 the other day.
Congratulations.
Happy birthday, champ.
That's right. Congratulations.
You still suck.
And on a more...
Actually, hold on. Before I go on, speaking of Antonio Cesaro, I think this is worthy. WWE is talking about bringing Cassius Ohno up to the main roster to feud with Antonio Cesaro. And for those of you who aren't, fully into everything that goes on behind the scenes, Cassius Ohno's previous gimmick was Chris Hero, who was a tag teamer with Antonio Cesaro in his old gimmick, which I can't actually remember his name, sorry, but they were the Kings of Wrestling down in Ring of Honor. I think it would be awesome to see them feud, but WWE be smart and team them up! We need tag teams right now!
It's true.
Sorry, go ahead.
Should be interesting. But yes, on a more somber note, recently, former NWA superstar Rip Hawk passed away at the age of 82. He started wrestling back in 1949, wrestled for several NWA promotions, and even was a tag team partner with Ric Flair in NWA Mid-Atlantic. That's it for that. And that is it for Breaking Kayfabe. That's right. Alright, on to today's show.
Well, today we're going to continue on with part 2 of the Attitude Era.
Yeah.
And I would like to make notice of my awesome Christmas present from my mom and dad and Sherry. They got me the Attitude Edition version of the Smoking Skull title. Notice, it's not the WWE release, it is the WWF release.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Nope, it's beautiful. It's handcrafted.
It even has the painted snake skin on the inside.
You can see it for yourself.
Believe me, it's there. I'm staring at it. It's
so,
nice.
As agreed, part 2 of today.
We're going to start off with the abduction of Stephanie McMahon. Dude, what happened to your hot chocolate?
Well, it's 9 o'clock at night. You show up at my house. You tell me you want to do this. I had a long day at work. It was a long day. I need something to get me through this night, so just get off my back, okay? Get off my back!
You want me to get on your back?
Do you want a piggyback ride?
Can I get a piggyback ride?
Maybe when we're done filming. Wrap it up.
Okay. So the abduction of Stephanie McMahon. Now, Stephanie McMahon debuted back in early 1999 as the sweet and innocent daughter of Vince McMahon. This took place during Vince's on-screen storyline feud with The Undertaker. Now, what happened was, during this feud, The Undertaker began stalking Vince's daughter, and eventually...
She was hot, I mean...
She was. And eventually abducted her, and even almost married her.
Yep, and then Tess stepped into the picture and almost married Steph.
But with The Undertaker one, do you know who stepped in to stop that?
Nope.
None other than the Texas Rattlesnake himself.
What?
Stone Cold Steve Austin. That is right. Stone Cold rescued Stephanie McMahon from The Undertaker.
Is that when he got all strapped up to the freaking thing? He was like...
Like a puppet. He was a puppet.
Like he was like in sync.
Never say that again. Anywho, she began an on-screen relationship, as he said, with Test. And eventually, they became engaged.
Yep. Which led up to them having an on-Raw wedding, which was interrupted by none other than the game himself, Triple H. It ran a video package where Triple H had abducted her and went to Las Vegas, and they got married.
Yes, they did.
Sorry, I know I stole your thunder a little
Vince McMahon was not happy about that.
Well, it's Daddy's little girl. Would you be happy if somebody kidnapped your daughter and went to Vegas and married her?
Absolutely not.
Now, here's my question to you. I don't know if you looked this up. Was the wedding real?
I did look this up. The wedding, in fact, was real. And it was later on revealed that, at least storyline-wise, that it was part of a revenge plot against Vince McMahon because of Stephanie being abducted by the Undertaker. She was not happy that he allowed this to happen.
Well, I mean, when your dad runs the show, I guess you get away with whatever you want.
It's true. It's true.
Hence her women's title reign.
Now, this whole Stephanie and Triple H and them being married and all this led to the Helmsley McMahon era and all the gloriousness that came with it.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the McMahon-Helmsley Era kick off with Vince being injured at Armageddon 99?
Yes, Vince was injured by Triple H at Armageddon 99.
And it was a legitimate injury. It took Vince McMahon off of television for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then Triple H ended up winning the WWF Championship. And if I'm not mistaken, Stephanie won the Women's Champion at this time. And they ran the show as the two champions that were needed to be. And
they ran rampant throughout all of the WWF.
It was crazy.
It was the Triple H and Steph show. I mean, it really was.
I mean, I remember that later on down the road, Steph and Triple H, I mean, they started having their issues. Steph reconciled with her father.
And Shane.
And Shane, yes. That was around 2000?
Yeah, it was at
WrestleMania 2000, where she helped Triple H defeat The Rock to keep his title. Which... it really led to interesting things in the WWF at this time.
Yeah, some really strange storylines kind of came about, you know.
Well, you saw a love triangle form. Now, would you like to tackle this, or...
Go ahead.
Okay.
Because I know you were intrigued by this.
It's not that it intrigues me so much of the storyline, but some of the stuff that happened at the time. You had Kurt Angle madly in love with Stephanie, who was married to Triple H, and at the entire time that he was hitting on Stephanie... you had Edge and Christian towing along with him in everything that he was doing. And I remember that Kurt Angle's birthday happened, and they were backstage, and there was a party going on, and then Edge got a gift from Kurt, and it was a picture of him, and he's like, well, where's the real gift?
Yeah.
And the Kazoos and Streamers promo, which Josh and I would love to give you a taste of right now, because this is just something that's always amused us. Might be Edge or Christian.
Either one.
Okay. Oh, look, man. Kazoos and Streamers.
Oh, man. Kazoos and Streamers. Long live the zoo.
And long live this stream. Oh, look, dude. I can play a theme song to this. Do-do-do-do-do. 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 It doesn't... Don't worry, Kurt. We can play your theme on this. 2, 3, 4. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Do-do. Yes, you didn't hear that wrong. Edge literally missed Ang. All you heard was go, Angle. Which,
good times.
Funny thing though, out of Kurt Angle's theme, the whole patented dun, 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 you suck, you suck. Do you know who started that?
I do. That was The Rock.
The Rock.
That I actually was watching that night, and it was. I'll never forget that. I mean.
And just another interesting thing that I
start
love
of
too.
something that
I'm going to layer this in there while we're talking about this. The Kurt Angle theme that everybody is so used to and accustomed to is a recycled theme. Look up somebody called The Patriot. That was identical. All they did was like, oh, here, Kurt, we got you this.
kind of like Brodus Clay.
Yes. Who uses Ernest the Cat Miller's "Somebody call my mama, I'm gonna dance." Oh, watch my.
I got enough. All right.
Okay.
Now, as we said, the McMahon-Helmsley era led to some very strange storylines. One including the love triangle. Another was Vince McMahon's affair with Trish Stratus. Now, this caused with Trish Stratus.
While his wife was comatose.
Yes. This caused, the stress of knowing this caused Linda McMahon to slip into a coma and become wheelchair bound. And it was a very strange and somewhat unbelievable storyline, in my opinion. I really wasn't sure where the heck they were going with this, but...
it didn't really work for a lot of people.
I don't know. I didn't really care for it all that much.
Another thing that came out of this weird time frame around the 2001 era, we said we weren't going to talk about this much during the Attitude Era talk, but it ended the Attitude Era, was Shane buying out WCW. The purchase of WCW marked the first night in a long time that WCW had been brought up on WWF television. Is Vince McMahon hit the ring and made the announcement that he had finally purchased WCW. Shane hit WCW's ring and made the statement that yes, McMahon's name was on the WCW deed, but it was going to be Shane McMahon.
Yep.
And then a couple months down the road, after WCW people started showing up, Stephanie McMahon revealed she had purchased ECW, and thus began the invasion, which later on was joined by none other, again, than Austin himself.
That's true.
I mean, Austin was a pioneer of the Attitude Era. There wasn't much that happened in that time that Austin wasn't involved in.
I mean, unlike Shawn Michaels, who was gone for the entirety of the Attitude.
I get what you're saying! I don't have that one in me tonight, but I rewatched that the other day. It is funny.
It's true. It was funny.
So Sean, tell me, when was your injury? From '98 to 2002. And what was the big push on the Attitude Era? From '98 to 2000. I get what you're saying.
And another interesting storyline that came about from this was Stephanie McMahon and Triple H's divorce.
They got divorced. I should call it
on screen.
Oh. Well, we kind of just covered this.
That's true. That's true. But I mean, we're going to talk a little bit about it. After the buyouts of WCW and ECW, a storyline was created in which both brands would unite against the WWF, and they would be known as...
The Invasion.
No, the Alliance.
Oh, the Alliance.
The Alliance.
Sorry. The Angle was the Invasion.
Yes.
Which was actually really cool, because you got to see a lot of your favorite WCW guys make a break back into the company.
Absolutely.
However, I felt bad for a lot of the guys who were big names in WCW, or good talent in WCW, who got buried in WWF.
That's true.
3 people come to mind off the top of my head instantly. Booker T, obviously had his promo with The Rock. He comes out. He's clearing out one side of the ring. The Rock's clearing out the other side. Back to back, they turn around. He goes, "Who the hell are you?" And Booker T goes to say who he is, and he's like, "It doesn't matter what your name is!" Everything Booker T ever accomplished wiped out. One fall swoop.
It's true.
And 2 other people who come to mind, Bryan Adams and Brian Clark, better known to the wrestling world and the wrestling industry as Chronic. A once good tag team of WCW, buried by the Brothers of Destruction.
Absolutely. Now, this Invasion storyline led to a pay-per-view known as Invasion. It was WWF Invasion.
Yep.
And it was their first pay-per-view that went along with this whole storyline. And it included 2 interesting main events. The top main event was what they dubbed the inaugural Brawl. Now, this was a 5-on-5 tag match. Team WWF versus the Alliance. Team WWF was Stone Cold, Kurt Angle, Chris Jericho, Kane, and The Undertaker. And the alliance consisted of Booker T, Diamond Dallas Page, Rhino, and the Dudley Boyz. Their other main event, which I found rather interesting, was Rob Van Dam versus Jeff Hardy for none other than the WWF Hardcore Championship.
Bought this off Jeff Hardy.
Yeah?
Said something about needing to get high.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Apparently it just didn't mean as much to him anymore.
That's true.
Get off the drugs, Jeff!
This will take us into our next topic, the Hardcore Championship.
Well, in 1998, Vince McMahon, November 2nd of 1998 to be exact, I did my homework.
Yes, he
Vince
did.
McMahon gave Mankind the first ever hardcore title, which was rumored to be the exact same title that was destroyed. Didn't write that down.
That's okay.
However, he would go on to lose the hardcore title to the Big Boss Man, and did you know that would end his chase for the hardcore title ever?
Yes, this would allow him to get a push as a more main roster star. You know,
And then a few weeks down the road, Crash Holly would win, and he would
that midget.
Yep, that midget. And as we had talked about before, the 24/7 rule, which would institute that as long as a referee was present at any point in time during the match, well, then you pretty much had to bring your own ref, which is why I always carry this fat fuck.
I mean, even women were allowed to hold the Hardcore Championship.
There have been 4 women, as a matter of fact, to hold the hardcore title in the WWF. They were Molly Holly, Trish Stratus, Terry Reynolds, and one unnamed hoe from The Godfather, which when I decided to do my homework, I guarantee you, without looking at this card, guess who she was?
I have no idea.
Her real name was, well, you know what? I'll let Josh read this, but I won't tell who.
Cynthia Lynch.
Who turned out to be?
Al Snow's wife.
Later on in life, she married Al Snow, and I was like, that is awesome, because I really wanted to know who the Godfather's hoe was. Now, on August 26, 2002, the hardcore title was unified with the Intercontinental Championship. This was exactly 1 month after the match between Rob Van Dam and Jeff Hardy to unify the Intercontinental Championship and the European title. I thought that was an interesting fact because we had talked about how the IC title was absorbing everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the fact that the hardcore title was taken off of television, and really, I mean, I found out that during house shows, the hardcore title was really used more than on television. It would change hands several... Dude, no way.
Several what?
No, hold on. Whoa. I have been searching for the last 2 months for a Hostess Twinkie. Where did you get that?
This is not a Twinkie. This is a cream-filled sponge cake.
Are you going to let me have a bite of your Twinkie?
No. $26.50.
26, but I ain't got 26.50.
You ain't got $26.50? You ain't got $26.50?
No. Well, on June
Fine. Merry Christmas.
Oh! On June 23rd of 2003, Mick Foley was awarded with a replica of the Hardcore Championship in honor of the fact that he himself was a pioneer of hardcore wrestling. I mean, the dude's only missing half his ear, and tooth went through his lip.
And if I'm not mistaken, him and Edge were named co-champions.
That was...
Hardcore champions.
I found out that was an angle during the relaunch and revamp of ECW.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of cool, because I was like, eh. But the hardcore title was never actually defended during that
That
angle.
is true. I think what they were doing with that is, I believe, they were trying to feel it out. See how the crowd would react to the hardcore title being back around.
I figured, I figured, with talking about the hardcore title, I should find out some interesting yet fun facts. Like, did you know in 2002 when Bradshaw won the hardcore title, he changed it?
Really?
It had a Texas flag with bull horns, and he named it the Texas Hardcore Championship.
Interesting.
Now, I know one of your favorite wrestlers did something similar. Would you like to talk about it?
Tommy Dreamer. Love this guy. Legend in the hardcore, in hardcore wrestling. He went on to modify the Hardcore Championship with a New York State license plate. It was very interesting.
Oh.
I have to say. It was definitely Tommy Dreamer-esque. I have to
That's
admit,
true.
you know.
That's true. Well,
Yeah,
he is from Yonkers.
That is true.
So, I found out that the Big Boss Man holds the record at 97 days for the longest hardcore title reign.
Wow.
A lot of people during the end or towards WrestleMania.
14?
No, it was past that. I don't remember. I should have wrote it down. They actually took the 24/7 rule off the title for a while, so that certain people could hold on to it to certain events. Like there was a point where Shane McMahon won the hardcore title, and they took the 24/7 rule off, so that he could fight Steve Blackman and still make sure that he had the hardcore title to do it. And then when Crash Holly re-won the title later on, reinstituted the rule.
Yes.
And Raven, however, one of my favorite guys in the business, I know you're tired of hearing about it, has the most hardcore title reigns ever at 27 reigns.
You know who some people like to compare to Raven? CM Punk.
Not gonna do it.
What are you not going to do?
Not gonna do it this week.
Really?
WCW Hardcore. Why you gotta bring up CM Punk?
It's not enough.
Why?
Folks. If you don't talk about CM Punk, ain't that right, folks? Don't eat my Cookie Monster's eye! That's rude. That is how rude. Read your card.
WCW also had a hardcore title that was launched because of the WWE and their success with theirs. And I thought about some awesome fun facts with that. Norman Smiley, the first ever WCW hardcore champion. However, did you know that...
What's up?
Don't let your wife see you making out with a cookie. 3 Count defeated Brian Knobbs to be the first people ever, and that's right, I said people, to hold a hardcore title as one. WCW saw it fit to crown them with the Freebird rule and allow any one of them to defend the hardcore title at any time, which then, therefore, they got their asses kicked by Brian Knobbs, and he just took it back.
That's true.
The Barbarian has the longest title reign in WCW for hardcore title, and it's at 59 days. The most title reigns, however, was held by Brian Knobbs, and sadly, doesn't even come close to touching Raven's 27. It's 3.
3? That's it?
The highest number of reigns in WCW was 3.
That's sad.
I was a little sad, yeah.
Wow.
Which brings us up to talking about one of the most hardcore guys ever in wrestling, Mick Foley.
And his feud with The Undertaker.
Who?
Exactly.
Who?
The Undertaker.
Who's on first?
Who's on second?
No, what's on second?
Who's on first?
That's, yeah. No, who?
Who's on third?
No, what's on third?
Where am
Elizabeth!
Now this feud began in April of 1996. The Undertaker kept coming off...
Can you not read my chicken
I
scratch?
can't.
Taker was coming off of his victory against Big Daddy Cool
Big Daddy Cool!
at WrestleMania. Come on, man. My writing is more legible than yours.
My writing is great. Now Mankind would debut... What does that say? Mankind debuted Beats? What does that mean? Like he comes out with a bag of Beats?
Okay. Mankind debuts. Beats.
You need to learn punctuation.
No, he destroyed Bob Holly that night, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
And then later on that night would interfere in The Undertaker's match.
It looks like it says 13 Ob. Just putting that out
It
there.
does not look like it says 13 Ob. Where does it say 13? Where does that say 13? I need better people to work with.
1306.
Oh, shit, that does say 13. Oops. You've been my brother for how long? You can't read my goddamn writing yet?
Week after week, Mankind would interfere in The Undertaker's matches. Continue. And In Your House 8, The Undertaker would challenge Goldust for the Intercontinental Championship.
Yep.
And he would even, he even helped to see Goldust retain.
Does that make sense to you? Can you understand that?
I think it does.
Okay. They would meet at King of the Ring 1997. Okay? And... Oh, he would apply the mandible claw and leave The Undertaker unconscious in the ring, therefore giving him an advantage for the first time ever.
Absolutely.
Now,
Absolutely.
they had a lot of encounters in between there, but their next meeting up would see them in a fight at SummerSlam in the first ever barroom brawl. So this is what happens when you make
Boiler room.
Boiler room brawl. Okay, look,
He's tired. So yes, at SummerSlam, you see the first ever Boiler Room brawl between The Undertaker and Mick Foley.
which was a great match. It was amazing and brutal. And Taker would lose the match to Mankind, but I'm not going to tell you guys why. You should look it up because that was a phenomenal match.
Absolutely.
I watched clips, and I would be like, click, oh wow, click, oh my god. And then I realized I was watching porn, and then I was like, I should probably watch the match so I can talk about it.
That's like him every day. I'm just putting that out there. Now, Taker would return and interfere in a WWF title match between Mankind
And the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. Which led them to the first ever Buried Alive match. Which, you know, Mankind would kind of win, but not because he won, but because every person The Undertaker had ever pissed off came out, beat him up, threw him in the hole, and then they buried him.
and got the truth.
Lightning would strike the tomb, you'd hear a whole, like, lot of crap, and then Taker would disappear again for weeks, not to be seen. Taker would return darker than ever. This was his ministry phase. You know, people would
Which
say...
we talked about
Yep.
in the last show.
And a lot of people would say this was more of his, he was more in tune with the darkness, I guess, than he'd ever been. There was a side to Taker that had never been seen. Which leads us to King of the Ring, 1998.
And the infamous Hell in a Cell match.
Now, you all know what went on there. I don't have to tell you, he doesn't have to tell you. Everybody knows in the history what happened between The Undertaker and Mankind that night. It's just, it was crazy. It was one hell of a match. If you haven't seen it, watch it. That will change the outlook of that wrestling for you forever.
It absolutely will.
Now, this was the first time in The Undertaker's career that he'd ever looked so weak. That he'd ever looked like he was in pain. This was the first time The Undertaker was ever made to look human. Which is why this made this a great feud.
Absolutely.
Okay? This feud was so great, and it lives on with the fans, and it will forever, because, well, this was one of those feuds where it wasn't just a, hey, you've got the title, I want the title. It was a, you're in my way, and you want something, well, I'm going to go through you and get it.
Absolutely.
And even the most cynical fan in all of wrestling who would say wrestling's fake, they'd watch this and be like, oh my god, what are these two going to give us next? This was an amazing time, and it was crazy. I mean, it was... Oh.
I mean, it definitely built both of these wrestlers' careers. You know, this feud was one. This feud is probably what solidified Mankind as the hardcore superstar that he is.
I would agree.
As this legend.
Well, not to mention all the crazy crap he did in Japan.
That's true. But as far as mainstream goes, it was solidified.
Yeah.
You know, at that King of the Ring '98, people knew he was there.
He was thrown off the top of Hell in a Cell. He was put through the cell.
And he meant business.
He kills himself. In all honesty, those of you who know I'm training, if you know me, and you know me personally, you know how dedicated to this business I am. I would pull a Mick Foley to get my foot into a business. I would literally sleep on mats. I would eat nothing but peanut butter and ramen. I would do whatever it's going to take to be that guy. But I don't know that I could ever put myself through that.
Yep. So now we are on to 3 of the greatest tag teams that WWE has ever seen.
Well, I'd like to think that as the Attitude Era went on, the tag team division was really like lacking personality and distinguishment until late 1999. See, the New Age Outlaws were brilliant, but they weren't really in-ring geniuses. And yeah, you had the APA and you had the Hollies, but let's face it, you didn't really always want to watch them either.
That's true. Things that, you know, would get stale after a while. You know, you
Well,
want to see something new, something fresh.
Granted, the APA had a lot of great moments.
They did.
I mean, you always had the bar room and they feuded with the New Age Outlaws a lot too. They had the first ever barroom brawl. But for the summer of 1998 to the summer of 1999, 3 teams would debut and relaunch and reset the bar to how tag team wrestling was. And let's just say that those 3 teams, well, they reeked of awesomeness.
Absolutely.
Well, you wanna take it from here?
All right. The 3 teams that we are talking about: Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boyz, and the Dudley Boyz. That's right.
Well, you know, each team had something that they all brought to the table. Edge and Christian were famous for their 15-second poses, and they were famous for their awesome little catchphrases. The Hardys were famous for just being crazy guys who did everything that they had to get a win. And then you had the Dudleys, who were coming off of having the ECW background. Okay? All three of these teams would come into this company with respectful storylines and each having their own backing. Edge and Christian coming in with Gangrel, and then, Edge coming in, and then Christian coming in, teaming up, having Gangrel. The Hardys would come in. They would meet Edge and Christian in the first ever tag team ladder match, which was for Terry's Invitational. Money was held above the ring, and whoever pulled the money down got Terry as their manager. And then the Hardys won that match, and it's like, get rid of the whore. So, I mean, each one of these guys came in, and then one thing crossed all their paths. Tag team gold.
I mean, when it comes to tag team wrestling, the tag team champions, these are the teams that I think of. This is the time of the WWE that I remember and long for. You know, it's what I want to see again.
Yeah.
This type of...
Well, you kind of got to see a relaunch of the Hardys back in, like, 06.
Yeah.
They came back for a little bit. We got to see a little bit of that.
Smash the face out of Joey Mercury. Just saying. It happened.
You know?
Sorry, dude.
Okay. So, even though the two Mania matches, which were both TLCs, stand out in everybody's mind, I mean, let's face it, TLC and TLC 2, two of the greatest matches ever.
Absolutely.
They'll never be touched again. But, just for the record, there were other pay-per-views that featured all three of these teams going head-to-head.
Absolutely.
And they were just as phenomenal every time. Now, everybody knows what these three have put themselves, all three teams have put themselves through. You've seen the footage. You had to if you're watching this show. Okay, you're that dedicated to be watching us talk week after week after week. You know what those guys went through. But what you don't know is that how many pay-per-views at that time were showing tag team wrestling matches having stip matches.
Absolutely.
I mean, it just wasn't done.
Yeah, it's not something that you saw very often.
So, despite their varying successes, and following this feud, it could be considered the greatest tag team feud of all time, possibly ever.
I would definitely agree with that.
Now, for the quality of the matches alone, this feud is untouchable. Okay? 6 guys went out there and literally destroyed their bodies for nothing. And now this is usually where I'd reflect on the angle and be like, hey, you know, but this is what stands out to me. WWE's tag team division right now is getting very stale, and it's getting very, like, well, it's done, okay? WWE needs to mix things up, put it in the pot, give it a good stir, okay? Because now you've got the New Age Outlaws coming back, and they're giving, like, a little bit of a push to themselves. And I think WWE just needs to shake things up. Because it's not the Attitude Era, but just because it's not the Attitude Era doesn't mean that quality control needs to slip. Now, show me some wood.
That's right. Now, with these 3 great teams, we saw the birth of an amazing match.
Tables, ladders, and chairs.
That's right. With this tag team division at an all-time high, more attention started being given to tag teams.
Yeah.
And with more attention being given, that means that the stakes needed to be raised.
Well, you had the Hardys who were, like, efficient with ladders, and you had Edge and Christian who were synonymous with their chairs, and then you just had the Dudleys. The Dudleys! You had the Dudleys, who were famous for one thing and one thing only. Devon! Get the table! Which we've got, I mean, we've got chairs too, and I think there's a ladder in my front room.
There probably is.
Yeah, but
and
I mean,
thus, the TLC was born. Now,
awesomeness.
In order to give fans something that they've never seen before, this extreme modified version of a ladder match, it was brought forth. And because of that, this intense feud that we talked about, it really just launched tag team wrestling. It made
for like 2 to 3 years.
just like solid, just good solid tag team wrestling, and it's what people wanted to see.
Yeah.
I mean, you had your heavyweight gold, you had your IC gold and things like that, but tag team wrestling was where it was at.
And the sad part is that every time there was a TLC match, and to this day, anytime TLC's on the card, you tend to get a much better crowd than you would in a normal show.
I feel like it's because people are hoping to get just a glimpse of what a TLC used to be.
While we're talking about this match, I think this is a good time to bring up the past pay-per-view again. Okay, we saw The Shield taking on Ryback and Team Hell No. And that match was phenomenal. You got to see a lot of action. It was high-paced. It kind of took me back to when we got to see the Hardys, Edge and Christian, and the Dudleys.
I absolutely agree.
I mean, I don't remember what TLC it was to be exact. I remember there being 4 tables outside the ring and Matt and Bubba Ray just getting launched.
Yep.
I mean, how many times have you seen Jeff Hardy swanton from the top of a ladder in the entranceway to the floor? Jeff Hardy was crazy enough to put his body on the line for us fans. We should be honored that that kind of stuff happened.
That's true. Now, this very first TLC match took place at SummerSlam 2000.
It was a great event. I've seen this match 100 times. Literally 100 times.
Now, I had some side notes that I wanted to talk about.
I think this is a great
that
segment.
happened throughout the Attitude Era. In 1997, ECW held 2 tables and ladders matches.
But no chairs.
No chairs.
Well, at least not billed as TLC.
Yes, that's true. One was in February, one was later in November. I feel like this is probably one of the things that spawned, and this is one of those, the first real modified ladder matches that, was mainstreamed out there. And they had 2 of them in the same year.
Yeah.
Right? And then SummerSlam 2000 happened. The
Yep.
TLC was born.
And
then
then
what happens?
Other companies realized they really needed to up their ante, because if other people could do that, well then so could they. And ECW in 2001 had the Guilty as Charged pay-per-view that saw its very first ever tables, ladders, and chairs.
And canes.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right.
Which-
Sandman needed something.
I would just like to put out, though, that matches like this have evolved over years. TNA saw the tables, ladders, chairs, and chains match. which
Better
later-
known as
Full Metal Mayhem. I mean, when I think of tables, ladders, and chairs and TLCs, I like to think of WSX's TLC. Tables, ladders, and cervezas!
That's right. If you haven't checked out anything from WSX, I highly recommend it. They have some interesting stuff. 13 episodes. Check it out. It's pretty cool.
There was a piranha death match. There was an exploding
time bomb
steel cage match.
Steel cage death match. It's crazy shit.
I mean, it was an MTV production, so you gotta understand it's a little gimmicky. But you get to see good shit from Teddy Hart, Matt Cross.
You get to see, you know what? And you even get to see Evan Bourne before he was Evan Bourne.
What?
That's right.
Matt Seidel.
Matt Seidel.
I forgot.
Mhm.
I forgot. Check out pre-Evan Bourne
Yes,
with
that's
Lizzie
right.
Valentine.
Now,
Ooh.
throughout the Attitude Era, there were 3 TLC matches held,
SummerSlam 2000.
which we've already talked about,
Yep.
where Edge and Christian defeated both the Hardys and the Dudleys to
By
win the
making-
WWF Hardcore Tag Team
titles,
Championships.
by making a platform on the top of the ladders with a table,
Absolutely. Then the second one was at WrestleMania 17.
which saw again Edge and Christian retaining their tag team titles.
And the third saw something a little bit different. It was a
Fatal
Fatal
Four.
4-Way
Now,
Tag Team TLC match on May 24th, 2001 edition of SmackDown.
Well, let's see if I can remember this. It was Edge and Benoit. No? Oh, sorry. Wow, really? Jericho and Benoit taking on Edge and Christian, the Dudleys, and the Hardys. Wow.
It was just an addition of Jericho and Benoit.
And this was the... sadly, this is the match that fractured a disc in Benoit's neck.
Yes. Where Chris Benoit would suicide dive
To the outside
to
of the,
the
ring.
outside and hit a table. I think it was Matt Hardy was on the
I'm
table.
pretty sure it was Matt.
Matt moves off the table. Chris Benoit crashes through the table and fucks himself up. In all reality, that it was a sad thing, but it made for great television. I will say that.
Well, since its inception, there have been 13 TLC matches.
Yes. And this does not include the upcoming TLC on the January 7th edition of Raw between CM Punk and Ryback.
So that'll make 14.
Mhm.
Now, I'm interested to see where this is going to go, because I'm not a huge fan of Ryback right now. I'm glad to see he's getting a little bit of a push, but I think he needs a little bit more training. I've obviously made this. In all honesty, I'm kind of glad to see the WWE is backing off the crybaby bitch side of CM Punk. I'm actually kind of starting to like where they're going with this. I really love the bring back of Ric Flair and him getting in his face, because that was just phenomenal.
Absolutely. It was good to see him.
I'm sorry, I can't tell what time it is because the diamonds on my watch are making it hard to see.
That was great.
Ric Flair is a funny man. If CM Punk is smart, he will pull out his freaking notebook if he has enough money in his wallet, because we all know he's just a poor little bitch.
That's true.
Still got it in there.
Yeah.
Because you pinky the brown eye, but you don't stick it in.
Not stick it in. Now,
God.
that concludes our discussion on this portion of the Attitude Era.
Yep.
we would like to leave you guys with something interesting. We have a new segment of 3 Questions With.
Oh, no way. Who do we got today?
Well, we got an interview with none other than independent diva Brittany Force.
Yeah, but if you're going to tell them that, you should also tell them how we tried to get Bill Collier, but he kind of gave us the cold shoulder.
Yeah, he blew us off. He was all like, "Hey guys, can you give me the mustard?" And I was like, "Okay." And we're like, "Where's the mustard?" And we turn around, and he's gone! Damn you, Bill!
I didn't even get to taste your wiener! That is not what I meant. Not what I meant! You know it. He had a hot dog in his hand! It was a foot long!
How about you just enjoy the interview?
And this is another installment of 3 Questions With. We're going to try and get our interview with Big Time Bill Collier. Big time. If we could just get a quick moment of your time for a 3-question segment. I mean, it's nothing major. Okay, so the first question. The clock is ticking down until next month when Big League John McChesney beats you for the PWR Heavyweight Championship. Your thoughts?
You guys think you can hand me the mustard for this hot dog?
You want the mustard? Yeah, we can get the mustard. No, they already took the... Well, okay, so Big League's gone, and... Oh, look, there's Brittany Force. Miss Force. If you don't mind, we can get a quick 3 questions with you? Okay, so you've wrestled all over the country in thousands of different federations. What's that like?
Amazing. I get to travel all over the world. I get to see many, many things. I get to meet many fans, many wrestlers. It's an absolutely tremendous experience.
Who would you say your most notable feuds with?
Several people I've been with all of my career. A lot of the first couple of years were with Dr. Steffi and Ace Rod. Probably my favorite opponent was Nikki Rock, who was Roxy Lavone, TNA, or Nevaeh.
Is being a woman in the wrestling industry harder than it looks?
It's harder to find wrestling as a woman wrestler than anything, but as far as the matches and everything else go, it's a little bit more difficult for us because they think that they're going to get a Divas match. You think you're coming to a show, you see girls come out in their cute dressing, cute little costumes. What are we going to get from these girls? It's really hard to earn the respect of the fans.
And my final question, what is next for Brittany Force? Well, thank you. This has been another 3 Questions with Brittany Force. Man, that's a great interview.
That was good.
I really love Brittany. She is one of my favorites. She's family. She's a juggalette. Whoop whoop.
You know, I definitely enjoy every time I watch her work, and she has good talent.
Can we say that? Because I mean,
I hope so. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
when she wrestled. She's a great worker when she wrestled. I thought he was talking about something else.
Well, that about concludes this episode of Off the Ropes.
Yep.
I am Josh.
I'm John. Remember, find us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel.
All
Beat
the
you to
above.
it. Beat you to it.
Yes, sir.
Sorry. Would you like to take it though? Go ahead.
It's okay. Like he said, please find us. Like us on Facebook. Because, you know, we only have like 52 likes. We'd really like to reach that 100
What is
mark.
up with that?
Please.
We want 100.
We got all these people who say they watch our show. Come on, just give us some likes. I don't even
freaking click on a button.
You don't
You're
have
sitting at your computer anyway.
You don't have to watch the show. Just like it on Facebook. I don't care.
Come on, we want them to watch the show. Don't
I'm just saying.
Come on.
Appearances. Anywho. And yes, definitely look us up. Follow us on Twitter. I mean, I may not post as much as I should on Twitter, but if I had more followers on Twitter, I'd probably be posting more. We only have like 9, and that includes us. I'm just saying.
I started really like trying to get CM Punk on Twitter, so if you guys could start hashtagging Crybaby Bitch and mentioning me or the show,
that'd be great. Get that stuff trending.
Let's twat it.
Let's twat it and get Crybaby Bitch trending worldwide.
If we do it, I'll buy you all a cake.
Cake. That's right. He will do it. He'll do it.
I pinky swear.
But don't stick it in. That's
No,
right.
No.
Okay.
No pinky.
Now, and also, watch all of our previous 7 episodes, plus our special edition.
And this one.
And subscribe to our YouTube channel, as he already said. Because, you know, we only have like 9 subscribers, and we'd really like some more.
So, until next time, we're down for the count.